Good morning and welcome to the Fish and Wildlife Commission meeting. We have a lot of important guests in the room, and we're glad that everyone's here. Today, we have a very full agenda and look forward to continuing thoughtful discussion from yesterday. I do want to go ahead and call the meeting to order, and if I might call on Commissioner Box to lead us in an invocation and then the Pledge of Allegiance.
Lord, we want to thank you today for this group of people. Thank you for watching over us during this rain. Keep us safe. Lead us to making the right decision. Protect our resources, Tennessee. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent. Ms. Danette, would you please call the roll?
Chad Baker.
Here.
Tony Sanders.
Here.
Connie King.
Here.
Bill Cox.
Here.
Angie Box.
Here.
Dennis Gardner.
Here.
Bill Swan.
Here.
Brian McLaren.
Here.
Kent Woods.
Here.
James Stroud.
Here.
Kurt Holbert.
Here.
Jeff Cook.
Here.
Jamie Woodson.
Here.
Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. We will move forward. We have a lot of important folks here today who are with us, and so I'm going to at least begin the list of recognizing them. Of course, I'm thrilled to have Boyd Barker with the Department of Agriculture here with us. Very proud to have our former colleague and my former chairman, Bledsoe, with us today to watch over us and keep us straight. Of course, the Watson family, we look forward to honoring David shortly, but really excited to have friends and family here with us today. We'll be hearing just before the fisheries issues from Ray County's Economic and Community Development Leader, Dennis Tumlin. Really looking forward to hearing from him today. Also, special guest, Commissioner Bankston. I haven't had an opportunity to meet you, but you're here. Would you stand? Thank you so much. Hamilton County Commissioner, we're thrilled that you're here with us today and appreciate your leadership. Thank you. Also, we have Mike Butler from the Wildlife Federation, Mary Miller from U.S. Forest Service. We're really thrilled that you all are with us today, and we're excited to dig into the meat of what will be celebrations, but also thoughtful discussion on a variety of important issues before the Commission this week. And with this, I'd love to recognize Ed Carter for a very special presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. It is a special day for us to be able to recognize David Watson. David, as y'all know, was a member of the Commission for several years, was one of the officers of the Commission moving into that, and had to resign from the Commission due to some problems that he had a little bit of health problems, but he's bounced back, but now we don't have a place for him. So, but David has done an outstanding job for all of us, and last night we got together and honored David with a little dinner off to the side with some of friends and colleagues. But David, if you don't mind, if you join me and Chairman Woodson up here, we'd just like to formally say thank you for all you've done, and have a
Hold it straight now.
there's a little bit of an obstacle course to get back to the seat, and before David sits down, I certainly wanted to give any of my colleagues an opportunity to share our deep love and respect for you, David, and your family. Debbie, thrilled you're here today. We had a lovely meal, communion together and fellowship, and it was just really lovely. But I think for me, David was our budget chairman, a thoughtful leader for us on commission, continues to be thoughtful counsel for us as we embark on a very important time for this commission and the agency. And I think we all have just such a deep level of respect and love for him, and wanted to honor him properly as he moves into more turkey hunting and elk hunting and other play and fishing, which is and time with his important family, which is going to be really important. But we know he's on speed dial for all the important issues, and just really appreciate you so much, David. Thank you.
I just want to tell the people that I get to speak to last night, the people that are here from the agency, I really enjoyed my time as a commissioner, and I really enjoyed working with all of you guys from the agency. Y'all are some of the best people that I've ever met, and I really mean that. And I really, become friends with a lot of you, and that friendship means a lot to me. And this was a very hard decision to step down, but it was the right decision at the time. And being a commissioner was a great job, and hopefully these guys know it, but I certainly know it when you step away and you realize how great it was to be a commissioner and everything else. But this agency is a great agency, and it will continue on, and we just all of us need to support it 100%. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Once a commissioner, always a commissioner in my mind. Excellent. Well, with that, Ed, we'll go to our next important presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. For years, we're in an area where we've had a lot of community help in putting together a crane festival that now has been in several years, I think 26. So it's been a long enough. But Mimi Barnes, is the information coordinator here in Region 3, would like to come up and make a few comments about that and recognize the people who have been instrumental in helping that happen.
Hi, so I'm Mimi Barnes. Good morning. I'm the Information and Education Coordinator in Region 3. And I often say I have the pleasure of working with the greatest coworkers on the face of the planet. I love wildlife, and to walk into a building every day where people have dedicated not only their education but their careers to what I love is top-notch and fun. And they work very hard. But we often know that we can't do it alone, and we rely on partnerships like the Forest Service and National Wild Turkey Federation and local organizations. And the one that I want to talk about today is basic. It's the Birchwood Area Society Improvement Council. And it consists of 4 wonderful women that are so strong. And I said if everyone had a little bit of the love of community that they had in them, what a patriotic, beautiful country we would be. And they're definitely role models for me there. All 4 women went to school at the Birchwood Elementary, or actually it was known as the Birchwood School then. They graduated from that school. Their children went to the Birchwood School, and even some of their grandchildren went to the Birchwood School. Not only that, the 2 ladies that are with us today spent their entire career, well over 30 years, at the Birchwood School. They're very tied to it. And when the school closed as an educational structure, they approached the commission and the county and said, could we take over the school as a community gathering place? And they were permitted, and they scrub the school themselves. They work on the roof themselves. When the boiler broke last year at the Sandhill Crane Festival, they undertook getting it fixed, and they do everything they can to partner with Commissioner Bankston. And Commissioner Bankston, again, on behalf of the agency, thank you for what you do in support of the Sandhill Crane Festival. If you've not been to the festival, tens of thousands of birds either overwinter or stop on their way on their migratory route further south. and it is quite spectacular to see. And we have visitors from across the United States, and we also have visitors from outside the country every year. And I really think we would struggle with this festival if it weren't for BASIC. They provide the school, and it's a place to park the over 3,000 visitors that we have. We could never park them on the refuge. They provide a place and entertainment for guests. They feed all of those guests. And then they also provide structure for vendors, and then some educational sessions that we offer. So on behalf of TWRA, I'd like for Miss Linda Wright and Miss Sylvia Beavers that are here to come on up. So for 26 years, we'll be working on our 27th festival, and these ladies have been involved from the very beginning, and I truly adore them and appreciate their time with us, appreciate their partnership, and we look forward to more. So on behalf of TWRA, thank you.
And who, by the way, is the chairman, thank you, Commissioner Sanders, of the Hamilton County Commission. That's a very big, fantastic, a very important job.
Thank you all very much for that. And it's always, when we do something so quickly like that, it seems like we're up and we're down, but we could talk for a long time about community involvement, and they're kind of the epitome of that in this area. We certainly have appreciated that over the years. If you haven't been to the Crane Festival, you ought to take the time to go sometime. It's a very festive event, very laid back, lots of things to see, lots of things to do. Everybody that's there really, really enjoys it. I'm going to move back just 1 second to David Watson. David, I see you got Debbie and Clay. Clay is David's son, Debbie's wife, and I don't know if I'm missing any other family or not, but thank you all for sharing him with us for these last few years. It's been certainly a pleasure to know you all as well. And you might notice that we act like we're friends. That's because we are. And that gets to be with the commissioners on the commission. We may fuss and go back and forth into these meetings, and you might think we hate each other, but I can tell you it's really a respectful thing between the people at this agency and the commission, and it's a working relationship that we couldn't get anywhere else. So anyway, thank you all for all that. Next presentation really goes, and I'll ask Darren to make a couple remarks here, but our honor guard is a fairly new thing to our agency, and I don't want to take all of Darren's remarks, but I was really, really proud of some of the things they've accomplished. One of the things they just did was come back from Washington, D.C., where they participated in National Police Week, and we had a few honors there that I was really proud of. But Darren, if you want to come up, and while you're coming up, I'll say, I'm just giving your whole speech, but Matt Majors will be the person who will be presenting, but I didn't want him to get too far without recognizing his dad, Fred, and his daughter, Morgan, on the front. Fred, raise your hand there. Fred used to be a volunteer for us on the North Chickamauga Wildlife Management Area. We finally hired him, and now he makes just barely more than a volunteer, but he has to pay taxes on it. So but thank you for all that, Fred.
I can strike that off my notes. I won't have to introduce you, Mr. Majors. But I will say Matt's daughter had a chance to do what, according to her, was a boring movie day, so she'd rather come to work with her daddy. So we appreciate you coming for that. So we'll bring Matt up here in a minute, but if I could preference this is more of an information item, and that we want to present with the new commissioners and some of the duties and the responsibilities that Honor Guard has served. And what's difficult is our efforts yesterday is super important, and I understand that about the season settings. But as long as I've been around and I get emotional, this Honor Guard is the epitome. It's very meaningful and it's very impactful to our family and our employees, and Matt will explain that. I hope Matt gets a chance to explain his recent subway trip to D.C. and you'll understand what I'm talking about. So it was Matt's dream and his effort to pull this together, but it's certainly Director Carter's support, and it was a no-brainer for us to be able to recognize our employees for their career service with the agency. So, Madam Chair, I think y'all got some challenge coins from the Honor Guard. It pains me to see that because I haven't earned one yet. So, I'm just kidding. But Matt thought it was important to, and those challenge coins are available for, like, when they do practice, they do trainings 3 or 4 times a year. So if churches or buildings allow us to train in space, and for entities and vendors to help us out, we honor them with a challenge coin. So Matt Majors, if you'll walk this way, it could be worse. He could be major, so I hope he never makes major. Just a little bit about Matt. He's our statewide boating investigator. He's our statewide boating investigator. He's been doing that quite several years. He's a leading national authority. He's a national instructor for BUI instruction and also for GPS forensics instruction. He chaired the National Association of State Boating Law Administrators Law Enforcement Committee. He chaired that for about 3 years, and I railroaded him into that, but he did a fantastic job for that. He also oversees our one commission meeting is our ROV, our remote control robot that we use underwater for accident investigation. It's a pretty neat piece of equipment, and he oversees that. He's the daddy of that because you got to assign daddies to have control over it. So without that, Matt, it's all yours.
Now, how do you follow that? Director Carter and Commissioners, thank you so much for allowing me just a little of your time to let you know what I personally tried to think of as one of the best programs we have. When I was preparing this, I thought it was the best program, but then I started thinking of all of the programs we have, it's just another great one. So I can't call it the best because these people in your audience here, the people that wear this patch, do some tremendous work. So it's just another wonderful program we offer. It doesn't often reach the level of our constituents sometimes, but it is there to honor the men and women who've worn this badge. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what we do really briefly and then conclude with a short video. Well, who are we? Well, we are made up of 21 officers, commissioned officers from this agency, and they encompass every district, every law enforcement district we have throughout the state. District 11 all the way to District 42. We have representation. Each one of these men chose this, and Darren gave me a little extra credit there at the beginning saying that this was my idea, but many of these men that you see standing there in this photograph, it was their idea as well. We just all work together to make this thing a reality. So that's who we are, and you'll see some pictures of them in action here. In 2011, we had a vision, and that vision came to us after we lost what I would consider a tremendous friend and mentor, an officer with this agency. We put together a great showing of respect at his funeral, but it prodded us all along to really look back and say, how can we do more? Because that's what we wanted to do, was more. Everybody who's worn the badge, everybody who's enforced our laws in the state of Tennessee for the right reasons needs to be recognized in our eyes for all the service they've given. So with tremendous support from Colonel Ryder and the director staff, we move forward. Interviews, selection of members, and we had way more members than we actually thought would step forward. We had 21 people that stepped forward that wished to be part of this. We were expecting about 12 that had showed interest, but it was a good calling. We sent some of those members through training, 8 of them through military honors training, and those men and women, or those men came back rather and taught us kind of how to do business, and they did a great job. Through some effort and working on an administrative directive, our team was basically formed in 2013. So what do we do? what we do, you know, in preparing this, I can't tell you all the things that we truly do because I can't put them into words. We do things that you can't put into words sometimes. But if somebody asks me, hey, Matt, what do you guys do? We offer a 3-tiered service, okay? The first one and most commonly used is for our retired officers. If you've been a commissioned officer with our agency, one of the things we will do is we will come stand casket watch at your visitation. We will fold a flag and present that to your family. But more than that, oftentimes we're called by the families to do other things, to do more. And we'll do that. It's their time, it's not our time. So any way we can make their time a little easier, we do that. Our second tiered service, which is a little higher, are active duty officers, but do not die in the line of duty. That could be illness or a car accident or any other incident that they may run into, but it's actually not on duty. And we offer more services for those officers because they are actively serving with our TWRA. And our third and highest honor that we will give, which we would consider full military honors, is for our line of duty deaths. Any officer who is killed in the line of duty performing and enforcing the state laws of the state of Tennessee. With those things, we're often called to do ceremonial things, more color guard type issues. Those things we're glad to do because it promotes our honor guard and it gives ourselves a vision in the local law enforcement community sometimes. And then lastly, we're oftentimes called to other conservation officers' funerals, especially ones that are killed in the line of duty. We always try to send at least a couple of our honor guard members as a show of solidarity and support to those other agencies to show them that we're mourning with them and that we're there with them. So why do we do it? You know, I could speak to you all day on the things that I've done with this agency that made an impact on my life. But I can say for sure one of the most challenging but most rewarding is being presented a crisply folded flag from our honor guard and presenting that to a grieving widow and family and thanking those family members for their loved ones' service to our sportsmen of the state of Tennessee. There is no higher honor for me. There's nothing I can do that I can see that will ever top that honor. There's nothing I can put into words to tell you that feeling. But what I can convey to you is those families sincerely appreciate it. We have officers that have served in our wonderful United States military, and the military will send an honor guard. They're glad to, and we work with them very, very easily. What I've found is some of our wildlife officers' families will tell us when we're meeting about this event that they want to take place. They'll say, he was a member of our military, and we're so proud of his service, but he wanted our wildlife officers to stand beside him. And that's a tremendous honor. It really is. So oftentimes we will work with those military groups, and we will do these events together, but more times than not, the brotherhood of the wildlife officer shows through. To date, we've done over 25 active duty and retired officer funerals. It's such an honor to stand at casket watch with your head down at some of these funerals and hear other retired wildlife officers walk by and say, when it's my time, I want those guys standing here. There is no better compliment to be paid than that. We've also assisted in statewide line of duty deaths, other departments, big and small, in our state. We will, Colonel Ryder is usually ahead of me. He will have already reached out to their chief or sheriff and say, we're here, we're hurting with you, how can we assist? They don't oftentimes use us, but sometimes we're very necessary, especially for those smaller departments. Ceremonial. We have presented at the National Wild Turkey Federation Banquet, International Association of Marine Investigators, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, Boating and Water Safety Summit, as well as what I would consider a prestigious honor is present the colors at a graduation for the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy. Unfortunately, our honor guard always plans for the future. When we were putting this team together, talking to numerous other wildlife agencies, I heard one common thing, ones that had lost officers. They said, plan for losing an officer. That way you won't be caught off guard. It's important to mention that TWRA, to my knowledge, has no line of duty deaths, and I hope and pray that that never occurs. But we plan for that. We train for that. And if that solemn day ever does occur, I can promise you the best men and women will be standing there in this uniform. Our honor guard has a realistic view of law enforcement nationwide. We're not as respected as we used to be, and oftentimes targeted. For that simple fact, we would not be doing our job if we didn't plan ahead. Which brings us to how officers are honored nationwide for the ultimate sacrifice, for those line of duty deaths. For the last couple of years, we've had officers and honor guard members who wanted to attend National Police Week. It's a national gathering of thousands of officers from around the globe. They descend on Washington, D.C. each year, and hundreds of honor guard teams show up for one reason, and that is to honor the fallen. One of our honor guard members said, Matt, you know you can apply with Metro D.C. Police Department, and they pick certain honor guards each year to assist them with their services. So I did that, and you know what? We got chosen, which shocked me. I was so proud, but then I went into the immediate state of horror because we were going to have to figure out what we were going to do. They sent us 33 pages of instructions, where to be and what to do. I was kind of nervous, but we showed up. We took myself and 3 other really good honor guard members, and we showed up in D.C. I want to show you a few things we did. Our first assignment, they bring all of the survivors, what they call survivors, and those are family members, daughters, wives, mothers, brothers, co-workers. They bring them all in on bus, escorted by what appeared to be thousands of police motorcycles. And unfortunately, there were probably 40 buses full of survivors. This is the front of the line. As soon as they get off the bus, the first officers they walk by were your Tennessee wildlife officers. As I stood there and listened as they went by, each particular officer that was assigned to escort those families was listening to their stories. Some of them were beautiful, others were heartbreaking. We saw lots of smiles, we saw lots of tears. But it was at that point there in that picture that I really only understood why I was there. I was there, I was happy to be there, but that truly made the impact on me as to why we had made that journey and who we were truly representing, and that was those families. Our second assignment, at the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial, they have an annual wreath-laying ceremony, and that's done by the District of Columbia Police Commissioner as well as the President of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund. And at that ceremony, they pick one person from each state to carry the Tennessee flag or carry their representative state flags. And at my last count, there were over 10 agencies there from Tennessee, but your wildlife officer from Region 4, Jeff Webb, was selected to carry that Tennessee flag. What a tremendous honor. There were hundreds, if not thousands, of people there. So a tremendous honor for our guys there. Additionally, after that service was over, our 4 wildlife officers were selected to stand watch for the fallen at that wreath-laying ceremony. And what happens is from the time that ceremony starts for 24 hours, they post officers there in 10-minute rotations. So we were lucky enough to draw one of those 10-minute rotations. Certainly a somber experience, but there's no other place on the planet I would have been. During that 10 minutes, you really reflect on how good you've got it, because there are many other people around you that their life is not going the direction they thought. I put together a short 3-minute video to show you some of the pictures we've taken there. Take a look at that and then we'll conclude. I said I would. And maybe we won't. Okay. So I'll move on to our take-home message. Any time we spend on our families of our officers, and not just officers, but any time we spend on any agency employee is not time wasted. But I've seen firsthand the hugs, the kisses, and the true right arm of gratitude from these families that we have served, from retired officers to active duty officers. That in and of itself makes every day that I put on this uniform a tremendous honor, because I see the impact these officers have had not only on their families, but they've paved the way for us, and I'm thankful for that. When and if we're ever called for any function, whether that be a line of duty death all the way down to something ceremonial, I want you all to know that you have the best, most dedicated officers that exist in this agency that are ready to take that challenge. I've stood with some of our chaplains prior to our deployment on some of these pretty challenging events, and stood there and listened to the officers say, you know, I don't know that I can pull this off without tears, but they always do. Now, I won't tell you what happens in the back room, but we pull it together for the right reasons. And the reason our guys are so strong on this is because wildlife officers, it's a brotherhood. It truly is. It's something, once you are one, you're one forever. And it's very impressive to see how we all come together in these times of need. I'll end by saying this. It's tremendously challenging work, the most ever I've been called to do. But the rewards, I can't put into words. I don't know how to say that. And finally, as we were coming back through D.C. from our final assignment with our honor guard, we were still in uniform. And as you can imagine, traveling the metro in D.C. in full uniform, you get some unique looks. Right? And there was a lady that walked by one of our men, and she saw his patch, and she said, I just love you boys from Tennessee. And she just stood there, and I didn't know who she was, and I said, are you from Tennessee? And she said, yes, I am. I lost my fiance, Verdell Smith, from the Memphis Police Department. And I said, our guys stood right beside his casket during the service. I don't know how many trains we missed, but we missed several. Probably one of the most impactful things. It truly showed that the badge reaches out across uniforms, it reaches out across states, and it reaches out across worlds. So with that said, thank you so much for your time. We certainly appreciate it.
Captain Majors, thank you. I'm not sure there's a dry in this room right now. What is your name? Morgan? I have a niece named Morgan.
Morgan, we're really excited you're here to see your dad. I know you're really proud of him. We're really thankful for his service to our state.